This is going to wrap up my Mr. Bungle reviews. I'm not sure what I'm going to do after this. I'll think of something. Mr. Bungle is a band from Eureka, California. The original members were Mike Patton, Trace Bruance, Theo Langyel, Trevor Dunn, Danny Highfights, and Clinton McKinnon. Their debut self-titled album was released in 1991 to very varied reviews. Their second album, Disco Volante, released in 1995, and that was just incredibly weird. And in 1999, they released their final album, well, at the time, final album, California. The group then disbanded after a whole incident with the Red Hot Chili Peppers that I go over in my last review, the California one. I'm going to go over what some of the members did individually now, so there is quite a lot of information, so please forgive me if I get something wrong. Lead singer Mike Patton did more work with his bands Faith No More, Dead Cross, Tomahawk, and Phantomos. He also voiced some of the zombies in the Left 4 Dead games, which, yeah, I can hear it. Trace Bruance did work with his band Secret Chiefs 3 along with Danny Highfights and Clinton McKinnon. Trevor Dunn did some solo work. At a time he was a member of Secret Chiefs 3, and he's also a part of Phantomos and Tomahawk. In 2019, which is 20 years after they released their seemingly final album, the band regrouped. Danny Highfights and Clinton McKinnon didn't rejoin the group, however, so Dave Lombardo and Scott Ian took their places. You may know them from the bands Slayer and Anthrax, respectively. Dave Lombardo was also in Dead Cross and Phantomos, with Mike Patton and Trevor Dunn. Together they re-recorded Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny, which was a demo tape that the band had originally made as teenagers in the 80s when they first got together. This re-recording was released as their fourth studio album, Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny Demo, in 2020. So as I said earlier, this album is a re-recording of a demo the band made as teenagers, and honestly it's kind of obvious in the songwriting. It's probably their least interesting and most generic album. It still has some of that Mr. Bungle goofiness sprinkled in throughout, but compared to their first three albums, it's a lot more sparse. It's much more of a thrash metal album than whatever kind of album they were making before this. That being said, it's a solid thrash metal album though, so I recommend it if you're into that genre, or if you're just really into Mr. Bungle. It might be interesting to hear something kind of different from them when they were a bit more amateurish. At times it can be hard to believe that these songs are by the same people that made Desert Search for Techno Allah and Pink Cigarette, but there you go. Here's a random fact. Playboy Cardi, of all people, likes this album, if not just Mr. Bungle in general. The reason I think this is because in one of his music videos he shows off his Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny demo vinyl. Like, that's of no consequence to anyone, I just thought it was kind of funny. So one of the best songs on this album is Aerosist. This is my favorite song personally. It's just a really heavy sounding track with some really cool guitar playing in the middle. Another of the best songs is Hypocrite / Habla Español o Muere. Seeing as this song was made back when the band were in the 80s and teenagers, this is very much a precursor to the wackiness of the stuff they would do later on. At the end of the first verse, Mike Patton says the name of the album for some reason, and then it suddenly switches from being just thrash metal into kind of a mariachi band thing. And I love the line, "Speak Spanish or die." You know, Duolingo has nothing on Mike Patton. As for the worst songs, I'm gonna say one of them is Grizzly Adams. This is the opener, and it's a pretty slow-paced instrumental that only introduces any kind of metal elements towards the end, and it's about 3 minutes long. Honestly, I think you could have just cut the first 2 minutes off of this one and then slapped it on the front of the next song, Anarchy Up Your Anus, which is one of the shortest songs on this album anyway. Another of the worst songs is Mathematics. There's not a huge difference in actual song quality from this one to any of the other ones. It's just that this one is nearly 9 minutes long. And honestly, I just get so bored listening to it before I'm even halfway through. So as for the album cover, there's actually two separate versions of the cover. The normal cover has this kind of white rabbit skull design with a pentagram in the background. Yeah, it's a bit cheesy, but hey, you know, it works. However, the cover on streaming services, or at least on Spotify, has no pentagram and the rabbit skull is colored red instead. I'm not sure why there's a difference. I couldn't really find anything about it. but it is what it is, I guess. Overall, Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny demo is a pretty solid thrash metal album, but it's nowhere near as good as the band's work from the 90s. I think I'm going to give this album a score of 7.7 Left 4 Dead Zombies. And yeah, that's it. Bye.